Hello children, welcome all. Today I am going to discuss on the topic of asexual reproduction in plants, which is a subtopic of reproduction in flowering plants. And in the reproduction of flowering plants there are two types. The first one is sexual reproduction and the second one is asexual reproduction. And today I am going to demonstrate on the topic of asexual reproduction in plants. And today we are going to learn not only asexual reproduction in plants but the types which are included in the asexual reproduction in plants. So moving on, what is reproduction? The production of new individuals. The production of new individuals. The production of new individuals from their parents is known as reproduction. So the production of new individuals means that there are two parents. So the new individual getting from the two parents is known as the process. The total process is known as reproduction. So the production of new individuals from their parents is known as reproduction. So this is the definition for the reproduction. And moving on, what are the vegetative parts in plants? Most plants have roots, stems and leaves. These are called the vegetative parts of the plant. So look at here, the roots and stems and leaves. The roots, the stem and the leaves. These are all the vegetative parts of the plants. And look at here, all the parts of plants such as leaves, such as roots, stems and leaves except the flower. Listen carefully. Leaves except the flower here. Except the flower are known as the vegetative parts. But the flower is not considered as the vegetative part. Instead, the flower is considered as the reproductive part, which we will later learn about the pollination in plants. Okay. We have also noticed that after a while a young plant bears flowers in a particular season. Flowers are known as the reproductive parts. So please remember this point. Flowers are not the vegetative parts of the plants, but flowers are the reproductive parts of the plant. Got it? Okay. Next, moving on, types of reproduction in plants. Let's know the types in the reproduction of plants and their definitions. First one is the asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, plants can give rise to new plants without seeds. The most important word in this definition is without seed. Here, the new offsprings will get without the need of seeds. In the asexual reproduction, the individual will be born without the aid of the seed. But what happens in the sexual reproduction? It is opposite to the asexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, new plants are obtained from seeds. Here, new plants are obtained from the seed, but in this case, there will be no seeds. We will learn now. In this case, there are no seeds and the new offspring will be developed without the seed. And here, a seed must be needed here for the growth of the plant or the plantation of the new plant. And this is known as sexual reproduction. This is known as sexual reproduction and this is known as asexual reproduction. Just only a point to remember here is that in asexual reproduction we do not need any seed, and here we need a seed to develop a plant. Okay, moving on. Types of asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, we have many types, and among them today we are going to learn about the vegetative propagation, budding, fragmentation and spore formation. So first of all, vegetative propagation. It is a type of asexual reproduction in which new plants are produced from roots, stems and buds. So this is the definition of the vegetative propagation. Focus on the three words: roots, stems, leaves and buds. Since reproduction is through the vegetative part of the plant, it is known as vegetative propagation. In this case, what happens is the new offspring developed is from the vegetative part of the plant. I have told you earlier which are the vegetative parts of the plants. The first one is the root. The first one is the root, stem, leaves. These three are the vegetative parts, and flower is not vegetative part of the plant. Flower is the reproductive part of the plant. Remember that point. And we get new offspring from roots, stems, leaves and buds, and hence these all are included under vegetative propagation, and this is known as the vegetative propagation. We get new offspring from the vegetative parts of the plant, hence we call it as vegetative propagation. Moving on, let's see an example over this vegetative propagation. Look at here. A stem is a vegetative part of the plant. So what happens here, what they are doing, they cut a part of the stem and cultivated in different pot. And what happens here, when we cut a part of the stem and cultivated in a different pot with sand and soil or compost, this plant will be germinated as a new offspring. So tell me here, this is the new offspring and this is its parent. This is parent and this is new offspring. So from this diagram we can clearly decide that vegetative propagation is done by the need of stem or roots or leaves. In some plants we can cultivate a different offspring by the help of root or by leaves. Okay, moving on, this is also an example of vegetative propagation. In this case they are cutting a part of the root and developing as a new offspring. Okay, moving on, the next one is the budding, a form of asexual reproduction in which a new individual develops from some generative anatomical point of the parent organism. The small bulb-like projection coming out of the yeast cell is called as a bud. So, in order to understand what is budding, I will explain you with the help of diagram. Here you can understand, this is a entire new cell. Okay, what happens here, a new offspring tries to emerge out from the original parent body and develops as a bud. This is called as bud. A finger-like projection is also called as bud, which is trying to emerging out from the parent body and forms a new offsprings, and further it divides into many offsprings, same like this divides another one, this divides another one, and simply it multiplies. And hence, coming back to the definition, a form of asexual reproduction in which a new individual develops from some generative anatomical point of the parent organism. The small bulb-like a projection coming out of the yeast is known as bud. Here, this is known as bud, and this is known as the parent body. Okay, moving on. Next type is fragmentation. What is fragmentation? The splitting of cells into two parts, and makes new bodies is known as fragmentation. Okay, let me explain this segment through a figure. Look at here. This is a parent body, and from the parent body, a small part detaches from its body and develops as a new body. In this case, this is a parent body, and this is our new offspring. Hence, as from the definition, the splitting of cells into two parts, you can observe here the splitting up of two parts. Here we developed two new parts. This is the original one, which detaches a part of its body and develops as a new offspring, and this is the parent body. Okay. Each fragment develops into a mature clone. Genetically and morphologically identical to its parent. This point is most important here, which is identical to its parent. You can observe here from the figure, the developed one is same as the parent one. In the fragmentation, the offspring developed is similar to the parent one. Okay. And the next one is the spore formation. The spore formation or sporanogenesis is a process of production of spores or reproduction via spores. I will explain it later through the image. Let's move on. Spores are asexual reproductive bodies. Okay. A spore is covered by a hard protective coat. To withstand unfavorable conditions such as high temperature and humidity. Okay. Here, these are the spores. You have seen through your daily lives, and in the nature we may have found these kinds of plants where round shaped spores are formed on the top of the stem, and these are simply hard. A spore is covered by a hard protective coat, and these are hard, as they explained here, to withstand unfavorable conditions. Unfavorable conditions means such as high temperature and humidity. If in case they don't have a hard protective coat, the spores will be destroyed or destructed from the nature. Spore formation or sporanogenesis is the process of production of spores or reproductive via spores. And this is a simple definition. In spore formation, a spore is formed on the top of the stem, which is circular in shape. And thank you. I hope you all understand the types of asexual reproductions, and further we will continue in the next class. Thank you.